So this video is going to be a walkthrough of the syntax of DolphJS, what DolphJS is, and how I implemented it in my code, basically with the DDD architecture design. So DolphJS is a TypeScript and a Node.js backend framework that I believe was designed for people who like building their Node.js applications in a structured, object-oriented way. So instead of giving you a completely blank Express application, that way you can view their docs here, as in this link. So instead of giving you a completely blank Express app and telling you to decide how everything should be organized yourself, it gives you conventions and tools like controllers, modules, dependency injection, middleware, validation, and security. So you can actually see all of that in the decorators link here. So this is their docs. See, they even have the testing. So that is the description of DolphJS. And if you're coming from some certain backend ecosystems, some of the ideas may feel very familiar, so it's pretty easy to pick up. So for example, if you're coming from Python and frameworks like Django or Fast API, some of the concepts like decorators, dependency injection, middleware, routing, and separating application responsibilities, like in the way I separated the Django apps, it won't feel completely foreign because DolphJS does something similar. If you're coming from Java, especially Spring Boot, you probably find the emphasis on object-oriented programming, DI, that's dependency injection, decorators or annotations, controllers, services, and modular architecture very familiar too. So I'm not saying if you know Java, you're automatically going to know DolphJS. I'm just saying that some of the concepts in Java, you might find some of the similarity in DolphJS. And if you're coming from a Node.js ecosystem, particularly Express, you recognize the underlying JavaScript or TypeScript environment, the HTTP concepts, or DolphJS gives you more structure and conventions instead of you having to design the entire architecture yourself. So yes, that is DolphJS. So now let me explain the syntax of DolphJS. Now, so let's break this apart. So DolphJS controller. So DolphJS controller receives the routes or requests, does validation plus request handling, then it delegates the request to the application service or use case. So it doesn't have any deep business rules. Attaches metadata or some behavior to the class, this class here. So it basically tells DolphJS this line of here. Basically tells DolphJS that this is an HTTP controller that is responsible for this route here / output. So that's that. Then we also have some HTTP method decorators. So let me write that out. You can have stuff like at post. Since I have a separate route file, you can manage all of that here in the code. So at post, let me say /generate. So the decorators tell DolphJS which HTTP method and route should invoke this method. So in the at post /generate, you can now have something like this thing that is called this You can see the routing I spoke about before. Now the deep body decorator extract the request the body, and we use it with DTOs that we learned about in the previous video. That's data transfer objects. So we have a create cart DTO, and we want to tell TypeScript that, oh, let me explain this entire line from here. So basically, we tell DolphJS to take the HTTP request body, that's request the body, and provide it with this parameter as this parameter. Then TypeScript tells us that what we're expecting, the value that should be passed in the as the parameter should have this structure type, which is this. So you have a name and an age. That's what it should have. Now dependency injection in DolphJS. So find all. So a bit of confusion might come when you think the dependency injection is just passing parameters, which is wrong. Dependency injection is not automatically passing a parameter is not automatically dependency injection. And when you're given an object, the external object it depends on, that's dependency injection. Like the cat service and cat controller. So the cat So let me explain what services are exactly. So services is where you put like application logic that you don't want in your controller. Your controller is just supposed to receive requests, call something, and then get a response. So a service is where the application logic is placed, right? Kind of similar to how we have use cases in DDD. So basically what you want is that the controller should call the other service or call a service, and then business logic is called as well. So the controller's job is basically a request comes in, then let me pass the information that's from the request to the team that knows how to handle it, which is the service. So this is the DolphJS service handler. This is the Dolph service handler actually. So I'm just trying to say this is what you would use to easily notice that, oh, this is the DolphJS service. So we have this two lines. Let me explain what's happening. So the cat service extends from the Dolph service handler. So basically this cat service is inheriting the functionality from the DolphJS service handler, and this D service here, like our other decorators, is marking this class as a service. So it ensures that it tells DolphJS that this class is a service. So it's important to put this on the service, even if the service doesn't have any dependencies. Okay, so Now this supercard service comes from the parent class Dolph service handler. So the service is given a unique identifier, like this comment says. So it helps the DolphJS DI, that's dependency injection system, identify the service. So it calls the constructor of the class I'm extending and provides the identifier the DolphJS expects for this service. I think this is what I was trying to explain before. Now, this is the database injection. We'll go into this shortly. Now let's take a look at the components. So a component in DolphJS is the glue that tells DolphJS which controllers and services belong together and allows this DolphJS framework to wire their dependencies. So for example, let me bring up a whiteboard. So this is an example of how I use components in Charis. So we have the controllers, vertex controller and combos controller, and or let me say the styling components. The styling component has controllers and services, and the controllers it has the vertex controller and combos, and services are these services here. So basically, we're telling DolphJS that these are the pieces that make it's on your in your when DolphJS starts. So basically, you have Dolph, the new DolphFactory, and we have the, let's say, the two components that are here. So when the app starts, DolphJS is going to see the other component and what makes up the other component. Let's say the other service and other controller, and maybe an additional transaction service. So it will first read the component metadata, then it's going to create the service, and after that it's going to create the controller. So we'll then look at what the controller needs, the other controller that is a part of this other component, right? And it's going to see that, oh, the other controller needs other service. So you may be a bit confused. So let's go back up with it. See, other components as other controller, other service and transactions. So come back and again. So it will look at what the controller needs after it has gone from other components, looks into it, says that okay, next we have other controller needs other service, right? So DolphJS is going to automatically wire the DI, the dependency, and it's going to do dependency injection. So it's going to read the route metadata, for example, at get orders, like that route. So it's going to basically mount the corresponding route onto Express. So the process is basically from the DolphFactory to the components, then the services, then the controllers, then injects the dependencies, then discovers the route metadata, then expert routes are mounted, and then finally the server starts, that Dolph start. So the final thing I want to explain is this shields. So shields are basically a middleware applied to every route in a controller. So we have this simple Express middleware that checks is this that sends unauthorized if the person doesn't have the required header, right? It doesn't have like maybe bearer blah blah blah, or it's not correct. So So it's just going to return unauthorized and not allow the person to proceed, right? So you can have just write at should require auth. So for this entire route, this admin route, it's going to require, before you can visit this entire route, you have to be authorized. You have to pass, you have to successfully pass, how do I put this? So it means basically that if you want to access this route, you have to be authorized to access it. You have to have the correct bearer. If not, you are going to get this unauthorized error. Now the difference between shoots and middlewares in DolphJS is that you can use, because the decorator for just middleware is at use middleware, right? So that one is only for a specific route. If you want it for the entire route, that is the get, even the post. Okay, these are two get routes, but if there was a post route and you want the entire /admin route to have this middleware, you would use at shield. Now, when you do this at shield, and maybe you just want, let me just go to the next one on shielding. So now this is the auth, right? Now this is the auth route, and the shield has been applied to this entire auth route. Or for post login, that is, if we want to visit the login route, we don't need to be authorized because we just want to log in. So there's no way we would have the bearer token, right? So what we need to do is to unshield for just this particular specific route. So protect, what it means now, what this entire code means now is that protect the entire controller, this entire route or entire controller, except this login route. I hope that's clear. So that is basically the syntax of DolphJS, and I'm just show you where we're using DolphJS again. So remember in the last video I showed you this. So this is where DolphJS primarily lives in, controls all of this. So in the next video you will see the real code for implementing DolphJS, not just the theoretical aspect. So thank you for watching.